Oh, summer's here and it's time to relax.
Hold on, wait. Summer's here, but we've got work to do. Hi, we're Brandon and Megan Giggling, and we help people begin their personal growth journeys.
This summer, we're bringing you the Summer Growth Series, 2 months of quick episodes packed with practical steps and advice you can use right now to jumpstart your growth journey.
Already into personal development? Don't worry, there's plenty of good tips here for you too.
You ready?
This is the Fools in Love podcast. Welcome back to another week of the Fools in Love podcast. We've been really digging this summer growth series, and we hope you have too. Last week we got into what sets your heart on fire, but this week we're taking it one step further, because what happens when you get to the point where you have found what sets your heart on fire, but all of a sudden you're struggling with your creativity? With that, today we're talking about unlocking that creative side.
Yeah, when I think about struggling in my own journey to be creative, to get through it, the biggest obstacle for me always seems to be stress. I feel overworked, I feel tired, I feel overwhelmed, and I put myself into a box because I'm so stressed out that I just don't want to think. I think a lot of us do that too. We want to just escape to watching Netflix, to watching YouTube, to, being on our phone, being on social media. And there's so many different ways that we can escape. And a lot of what we're escaping is just the stress of everyday life. And so it's hard to find a way to think about anything creative when I don't necessarily want to think at all.
I can definitely relate to that, because when I feel like I'm in survival mode, it's almost like my brain shuts down and will not let me have new creative thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to think. You want to sit there and disconnect.
Yeah,
let's be real. If the last almost 2 years have taught us anything, it's the world's a pretty overwhelming place. And so it's hard to think creative because you think about, well, one, you don't want to think. And two, when you do think about stuff, it's just work. It's just going to be hard. You don't necessarily know what to do. If we're finding those things that set your heart on fire, but then you don't know what to do with that to get that to come into fruition. So then you're trying to be creative, but you're already so much in that grind.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that we are all put on this earth to do something. We're all here to create. We all have this creative side to us. Some may show it more than others, sure. But each and every one of us has the ability to be creative. We can all find things and find outlets for this creativity that we have built inside of us.
Well, everyone's put on this earth with their own gifts. You just said it. But a lot of people say, well, I'm just not a creative person. No, everyone was put on this earth to create. Everyone. I feel like that's what it's all about. It's creating a life and creating something where you can serve other people and make a difference in the world. I think everyone wants to leave this earth knowing that they made a difference in the world. And we're all meant to do that by creating. But if you've worn yourself down and feel like maybe you don't have any gifts to share, I'm here to tell you, you do. You have gifts to share. You have creativity inside of you, but then how are you going to unleash that?
Yeah. How will we unlock the creativity?
I think for us, when I was just thinking about this episode, we surround ourselves with creative people. Okay, Brandon, if you're not a creative person, then how do you become creative? Well, I find creative people. I find people doing the things that I want to do, and I look into what they're doing, and I read books that they've written, and I listen to podcasts that they're on, and I try to do things or surround myself with people that will make me more creative. Look, we've all heard it. You are the 10 people that you surround yourself with, or whoever. You are the people you surround yourself with. So who are you surrounding yourself with? Are those people also living in I'm not creative grind type situation? That's not going to help you or serve you to be where you want to be. And listen, they don't all have to be super creative people, but there should be people you're putting around you that are going to encourage you and push you and make you think about the world a little bit differently.
You know what's funny? I don't think that when I met you, I would have ever said that you're a creative person. 18-year-old Brandon, I would not have ever described as creative. And yet here you are. And I think you are so incredibly creative now. And the things that you can do and the things that you have done I'm just in awe of. So I just want to give you a shout out because I don't remember ever feeling like, man, this boy is creative. But here you are today, and all I can think is how many examples of creativity you have. So
Yeah, I appreciate that for one. And I mean, I think when I think back to that time, as you were talking about it so graciously there, when I think back of that time, I don't think I ever really knew. I don't think I ever really knew what I was supposed to be doing. I think I was just trying to get to the next stage of my life. I was just like, well, I'm high school now. I'm going to go get out of high school. I'm going to go to college. Okay, I'm in college now. I'm going to get out and get married. And I never really thought about what was I meant to do? What was I meant to be? And how was I meant to position myself? And I think if we're being honest, most of us are still doing that to this day.
Definitely.
See, for me, I hit a wall and I couldn't do it anymore. My reality would not allow me to live that way anymore. And so if you haven't hit that wall yet, if you haven't reflected on that yet, it's a really dark place you can get yourself in if you let it get too far, which is why this is such an important thing to talk about today. And I'm so thankful we're talking about it. And I hope you all will listen and take some notes and try to implement some of these things.
And I know you just touched on this, but I just want to go back to it because it was almost like part of your other thought. And I just want to say that one of the most meaningful ways that we've been able to jumpstart our creativity when we've really struggled in this area is just to consume other people's content, not to copy what they're doing, but to simply trigger our own creativity and within ourselves. And that has been such a gift to listen to other people's podcasts and other people's audiobooks and read the books and read blog posts and articles, because that's a great place to start when you just feel like you don't have anything of your own, because then like your brain just kind of goes wild with ideas. Like somebody says something about point A and all of a sudden you're on point Z because A led to B and B led to D and, D led to N and now you're at Z. Like it's crazy. And I'm so blessed, so thankful that we've had all these amazing opportunities to just really hear from other people and go to these conferences and do all these things, because it's really helped me get out of a place where I just felt like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not just that creative. Like, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah, and it seems easier, by the way, I think you'd agree, not to do that. Like, it seems way easier to not have to listen to a podcast, not have to read a book, not have to, spend your own money and go to a conference to figure out some of these things. But then where are you? You're not any further along. And when you're trying to learn something new, thinking back to whenever you've tried to learn something new, what do you have to do? Like, if you don't know how to do it, you have to go out there and find the resources to know how to do it. And that's essentially what we're doing. You're learning from other people. And it's funny as you said that, because I think about randomly, I'll just listen to like different podcasts that have nothing really to do with anything. I just find them, I listen to them, and it might not be something I'm interested in at all. But like you said, I'm here, and all of a sudden I'm looking over here like, oh man, we could do this or that, and we need to do this, and we need to do that, based on listening to someone who has a different perspective and point of view than I do, not even talking about the same thing at all, but it just opens my eyes to something new over here, which is just such an amazing thing.
Yeah, get you thinking.
I know for me, like the times when I can be the most creative, when I feel like being the most creative, is when I'm joyful, is when I'm happy. Because when I'm in like a happy place, I'm not like thinking about all the negative things in this world and all the negative things around me. When I surround myself with happy content, when I'm just having fun with our kids or having fun with you or just in a happy place, I can think about things more positively. And it's not such a struggle to think about things more positively because I'm just in a very good state of mind. And that really opens my eyes to so many different new ways to be creative.
Right. Well, like we were both saying, we both kind of admitted at the beginning of this episode, like, hey, we struggle the most with creativity when we're stressed. So therefore, it almost has to be that to reduce the struggle with creativity, that you have to decrease the stress. And if you're going to decrease the stress, then what better way than to add more fun and more vibrant things into your life?
Right. And then I think about too for us, like just getting outside, or whether you're getting outside in the sun, which is great for you, or just getting out of the space that you're currently in. Like, when's the last time you did something different, that you didn't go into the office and sit at your desk all day and stare at a computer, or go into the room in your house and stare at the computer, or whatever it is? When's the last time you mixed things up? When's the last time you did things differently? When's the last time you disconnected? Mm-hmm. Did you ever wonder why you have these amazing aha moments in the shower?
Yeah. I literally had the whole idea for the Summer Grow series in the shower. Like I had almost all the episodes figured out. Like the shower is where this whole thing was born, actually.
Right. And you know why? Because your mind is free to wander in there. You're not focusing on anything else. You're literally you don't have to openly think about what you're going to do and how you're going to wash your arms and how you're going to wash your legs and how you're going to wash your butt. Like you don't need to do that. And then your mind's free to wander to other things because you're not inundated with so many other things.
And no one's talking to you, no one's bothering you, and your phone's not there.
Right. So you're able to disconnect by default because you're staying in the shower. I'm guessing most of you aren't using your phone staying in the shower unless you got a waterproof case. But then your mind is free to wander. And when's the last time you let your mind do that?
I think we've just made a really good argument for taking longer showers.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, when have you last given yourself a chance to just be? I think we are so over inundated, over scheduled, and feel like we have the longest to-do list. And we all a lot of times wear them as a badge of honor. But when's the last time you just let yourself be? When's the last time you just gave yourself a chance to be uninhibited and free? That's when you can allow yourself to dream. That's when you can allow yourself to free your mind and then free your thoughts to be in a more creative space. Because the more you're stressed, the more you're inundated, the more unlikely it is that you're ever going to feel like you can create something new.
Speaking of that, I think that we just need to allow ourselves to daydream. And I know that, daydreaming in school was always like the big no-no. I know it's not a thing that you want to admit to doing very often, but I do think that there's some value in daydreaming because if we allow ourselves to daydream, that's where we get the bigger picture of our lives. That's where we can imagine bigger and better things than the current reality that we're living in. And when we do that, I feel like that's the place that has to come before we actually take the action, right? So if we have the daydream, if we can visualize what the future us is going to be, then we can start to plan out what the next actionable step is.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of us will focus on the action and trust us where, like you just said, we're not trying to say don't take action, but also it's important to spend some time actually thinking about what you want to do. Then you're not just blindly jumping into a bunch of things that aren't necessarily what you want to do or what you want to be doing. And I think like when you were talking about daydreaming, I always think about people just being labeled as like lazy or, it's like a negative thing to see someone out like, well, I took some time to think. I was just sitting out thinking. Like, I mean, no one says they're doing that because someone would think about them like they're crazy. But that's the thing. Like, if you don't allow yourself time to think and vision and look at the future for what you want, that's really laying the groundwork, and then action comes right after that. But you won't really know your action steps because, like, for me, I think about, there's been a lot of times where I jump right into things head first. It's kind of like part of who I am. But when I do that, then I get out there and then I'm like, well, I don't know what to do next. And then I fall off a lot easier from what I'm trying to do because I didn't plan out what I was actually going to do. So once I got through step A and B, I have no idea what C is. And then I revert back to my old habits.
And then you're stressed and then no longer creative, I'm guessing.
Nope, I'm stressed. And then you know what I do. Megan's seen this in real time too many times. Then what do? I start to focus on all the obstacles. I start to focus on all the things that are in the way that I can't do. And I don't, in that time, focus on any of the solutions. I just look at the obstacles in my way and think about all the things I would have to overcome to get to the place that I want to be. And then that stops. It paralyzes me from going any further.
Right. And if you're not thinking of the solutions, well, then guess what you're not doing? You're not being creative, because in order to find the solutions, you have to open yourself up to creative ways to deal with the issue at hand.
Yeah, I often think about, when I think about being, creative, when I think about purpose, when I think about being happier, I think about my kids and I think about how they look at the world. And right now our kids are 7 and 4, and they literally question everything. If they're wondering about something, they ask why. They'll ask she who should not be named why. They'll ask other people why. They're just trying to, there's a general curiosity that kids have to figure out what's going on. And that allows them, with that curiosity, to get more answers, which then opens their mind to different ways to go out and attack the world. But we don't necessarily do that as adults because we don't want to feel dumb. We don't want to feel stupid. We feel like we should know it a lot of the times. If some of us are, as old as we're getting, you feel like these are things you should know. So I don't want to go out and ask someone something because I should know that. But again, it allows you, by doing that and having someone explain something to you, if they're further along the line than you, or even if they're not, even if they're right in line with you, but they might look at things in new and different ways and allow you to look at things in new and different ways. And the biggest obstacle for you to being creative is living in that tunnel vision and not looking beyond where you currently have for any kind of solutions in your life.
Oh, for sure. I think that just one really underused tactic for letting out your creative side, for having the space to actually allow yourself to be creative, is just scheduling time for nothing. Scheduling time to just be. When was the last time that you ever sat? Like, sitting for me is super uncomfortable. I don't really ever give myself time and space to think or be creative because it makes me uncomfortable to sit with myself. If I need to go do something, I need to whip out the computer and work on something. I need to go do some laundry or go clean a kitchen or do something. Like, I don't want to just sit. It makes me very uneasy. And if I'm not willing to be in a place where I can sit and have thoughts rather than always trying to distract myself, then how am I ever going to come to a place where I have these amazing life-changing ideas for myself, for my family, for this world?
Yeah, that's right. That's why you need to get out of the space, because you're in that space. And like, as you were saying that, I think about like just being in the car. A lot of times I'll try not to turn the radio on, but it feels so weird that I'm just sitting there thinking and I'm like alone with myself. And we're so like inundated with sound and emotion and things all the time. But we need to schedule that time to think, because that's where you get those aha moments. So a real easy step would be remove yourself from your current space that you're in. Maybe go outside. Don't take your phone. Trust me, you'll survive. It'll be okay. And just spend some time with you and think about what you want and think about what you could do. And please don't focus in that moment on the obstacles, because they will come in your mind. Rather, focus on the solutions to get to the answers for what you want to do.
I think that's a really good place to end this episode. And with that, we just want to say thank you so much for listening to the Fools in Love podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we would ask that you please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a good review. Other than that, guys, we love y'all, and we'll see you next week.